Bargain that you wanted to stock up on, then discover that the quantity you could buy at that bargain price was limited? Not at Eagle. With our no limits policy, you can stock up on any item in the store. Buy as much as you like of anything. 1, 2, 3, a whole cart full, and pay the same low price each. No limits on quantities. It makes a good price from Eagle, an even better value.
George Bush.
There is a change in America today. You can see it all across this country. The opportunity of the 80s belongs to us to lead our country out of a condition of weakness into a position of strength. But we're not going to go back to make that happen. We're going to work and excel in what we do. We're going to be strong. We're going to lead, and we're going to win.
George Bush, a president we won't have to train.
WGN Television, Chicago.
Meet Ray Unziger, a former mental patient in South Dakota. What happened? How old were you when you first felt, well, what do you want to say, real bad?
When I really felt bad, I was 7 years old. I can remember dissociating in my second grade class.
You're a twin, aren't you?
Yes, I am, an identical twin.
Yeah. And what'd they do, throw your sister out of class?
They threw her out of class for yelling at the teacher, and the teacher looked at me and said, "Why don't you do something about her?" And I suddenly thought, why am I supposed to be responsible for her?
Yeah.
And I really I spiritually left my body and watched what was going on in the room, and that became something that I became very good at doing for a long time.
This is a classic, I mean, a psychiatrist uses this word a lot.
Labels for
What's
that.
it called, disassociation?
That's, yeah, and they call it depersonalization. Lots of labels for those kind of things.
Okay, so you, well, all right, now we've got a child who's got a label, which is probably not good in the first place, but that's
Right.
how they labeled you, huh?
Sure.
And were you taken out of school?
No, I wasn't. I stayed in school, in fact, all the way through high school, seeing a lot of shrinks during my high school years. Went to 1 year of college and really flipped out and checked into an institution on my own.
All by yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You were a freshman, were you?
Yeah, it was after my freshman year.
What do you
in
mean
college.
flipped out? What happened?
A lot of different things happened in high school. A lot of it had to do with my own withdrawal and use of drugs, legal tranquilizing drugs prescribed by doctors.
You were away from home and in a dormitory situation?
Mm-hmm.
I see. Was there any kind of bizarre, dramatic behavior, Ray?
Nothing that really came out. I was more of an imploder than an exploder.
So you just sit there and stared and did nothing, huh?
Yeah,
Did you cry a lot?
Not very much. I wasn't really trained to express my emotions
Just
very much.
kind of wimpy then, huh?
Yeah, I was a zilch.
Okay, so as a zilch person, you checked into a mental hospital?
Mm-hmm.
Now what?
Now I started on massive doses of drugs. I thought, okay, this is the place they're going to help me. I'm going to get well here.
Yeah.
I was there for 5 months. I saw a shrink twice. He spoke Spanish. It wouldn't have mattered. I was thrown into a room the size of a car, which is called a seclusion room, for 2 or 3 weeks. I don't remember how long.
2 or 3 weeks? Like solitary?
Yeah, they took my clothes off and threw me into this room with a rubber mattress on the floor.
Really? Could you call home, or I mean, did you have...
I didn't want to. No, there was no access to phone, mail, nothing. And my therapy mainly consisted of work in the kitchen, washing dishes 6 hours a day for $1 a month.
And this is in what state?
This is in Kansas, which is presumably one of the most progressive states in the country.
Regressive.
Progressive.
Progressive.
Because of the influence of the Menninger Clinic, which
Oh, right, in
is
Topeka,
not
yes.
true.
Okay, so your point is, if they decide you're a little crazy, pardon this imperfect, imprecise language, you could really have the worst time of your life in a mental hospital.
Absolutely, but the thing that's really more than that is that once you get into the mental health care system, you don't get out. It becomes a way of life, a pattern. You become institutionalized, dependent on the system, simply for your own existence, because that's all you know.
What do you mean you were forced to take drugs? I mean, they didn't physically, did they?
Absolutely.
Really?
I was thrown on the floor and given injections if I refused to take them.
Do you know what you were given?
Oh, you name it, I've taken
Were you
it.
given Thorazine?
Absolutely. Stelazine, Ritalin, Mellaril, you
And
name
it just makes you kind of...
It's a Stelazine shuffle and the Thorazine stuff. You can't move. You're just zombie. I couldn't stand up for 2 weeks.
And you're really very controllable in the institutional
Absolutely.
sense, aren't you?
It takes probably 2 days to become a professional patient in an institution.
By professional patient, you mean behaving just like they want you to.
Exactly.
So you're in a chemical straitjacket, isn't that right?
Very much so.
Janet Gotkin is a former mental patient from New York City. What's your story, Janet?
Well, my story is similar in many ways to Ray's, at least the end of it. I first became involved with the mental health system in college. I flipped out, to use Ray's phrase.
In college?
In college, in my freshman year. And
Was that the first time you had any sense of...
yeah,
was?
and I went for help to the counseling office and found very little help, and finally the school asked me to take a leave of absence, a medical leave of absence, and that was the first time I ever thought that my problems were in a medical sense.
Yeah. How did this flipped out manifest itself?
I cried a lot. I couldn't concentrate. I was hallucinating.
You were 20, 19, what?
19. I was in a very bad way. And I went back to New York, to Brooklyn, to my parents, and I was in psychoanalysis for a year, almost. And finally, in desperation, I cut my wrists. And it was a very minor suicide attempt, and that's what got me right into the mental health system. And I think
of us, many suicide
yes,
attempts.
suicide attempts are one of the big ways that people get involved in the system.
If you attempt it, they're going to put you in the hospital.
Pretty much. Nowadays, maybe they'll just let you go to an outpatient community mental health center and drug you to within an inch of your life.
But on paper, that looks pretty good. I mean, we're trying to keep you from destroying yourself.
Well, perhaps the motive might be good, but it's very important to examine what goes on within those hospitals.
What does go on, Janet?
Drugging, electroshock, institutionalization, infantilization, so that in a very short while you become a professional mental patient. That's a phrase that many of us use. You're unable to survive on the outside. Over a 10-year period, I was in and out of hospitals, probably altogether close to 4 years. I had almost 100 electroshock treatments. I had every drug that there possibly could have been in large combinations.
Wasn't there a nice young intern doctor to hold your hand that really
There were a
cared?
couple, but really they have very little impact because the system is very, very compelling in the way it acts on people's lives.
This is really cuckoo's nest, isn't it?
It sure is.
Are there people like that? Tell me about the people who work at mental hospitals, and I know I'm asking you to draw a stereotype, and of course there are exceptions and a lot of dedicated people. However, what?
They vary tremendously, but I think the important thing to realize is that the system promotes perhaps the worst in people because it sets up a power structure where people are helpless within the institutions and other people have complete power and control over their lives. The very interesting thing is that Ray and I are so far from unique that it should stagger everybody's imagination. I know from my involvement with the mental patients movement and from the letters I've received that our story can be repeated each year hundreds of thousands of times. People go into the mental health system and they can't get out.
So you are typical, you're saying?
I would say perhaps not typical only in the sense that I came out of it and I survived and I'm living a good and productive life now. And many, many people never have that.
All right,
luck.
let me tell you what we're about here today. On this program, you'll meet Wendell Rawls, who's a Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times reporter, now heads up the Atlanta bureau for this most prestigious newspaper. And he did a series of articles on the Fairview Mental Institution in Pennsylvania. He's come out with a book titled Cold Storage, and it is as grim as it gets in literature. I'll tell you, racism, brutality, sexual abuse, you name it, and it's going on, according to Mr. Rawls, not only at Fairview, but at apparently other mental hospitals around the country. His book is aptly titled Cold Storage. Let's see, Chris Hansen is here. Mr. Hansen's in the center there. You are with the New York Civil Liberties Union, and you are taking a long look at what you perceive to be the widespread abuse of civil liberties within mental health care systems.
That's right.
Also here is the president of the American Psychiatric Association, a man who has both a medical and a legal degree, is that right, from Harvard?
No, they just made me a professor. They didn't give me a degree.
Well, all right. You are you're Alan Stone, and you are MD, and you are president of the APA, and you're stepping forward to say the APA cares. Yes, it is a problem. You know, think of the questions here. Who can put you in a mental institution? Who can do that? Can your husband? Against your will?
Yes.
Yes.
Can an uncle who thinks, you know, you're acting a little goofy? And how do you get out? And who's watching? And do you have to take that medication in a mental institution? Under what circumstances does the state have the right to forcibly alter your consciousness? Can they throw you on a bed and give you a shot in the butt that makes you like a vegetable? And if you've committed suicide, is it right for them to do that? After all, they're trying to save you from yourself. And where are we getting the people who work at these mental hospitals, and who's watching them? We hope you'll join us.
From Chicago, you're now in touch with Donahue. Today, Donahue is joined by New York American Civil Liberties attorney Chris Hansen, president of American Psychiatric Association Dr. Alan Stone, and several former mental patients to discuss the hardships of mental patients returning to society.
Lots of families are finding out how Johnson's baby powder gets them off to a good start.
You lucky little kid. I wish it was something that could make me feel that good. Oh, you recommend Johnson's baby powder, huh? Keeps you cool and comfy and dry. Do you mind? Yeah, I can see why you'd want to start off with this. After all, we've got a big day ahead of us.
Johnson's baby powder from Johnson & Johnson gets everyone off to a good start.
Oscar, my book.
Relax, Michael. Nothing broke.
He's just edgy. The doctor says it's too much caffeine.
Well, why don't you drink Sanka-Brand, decaffeinated coffee?
I only like real coffee.
Sanka-Brand is real coffee. Taste it.
It's terrific.
I see you're drinking Sanka-Brand.
Yup, now the only one around here who barks is Oscar.
Sanka-Brand, the coffee that lets you be your best.
You and Mary can make delicious hash tacos. And overstuffed green peppers are just right with Mary's special touch. And Mary's...
Who's Mary?
Mary Kitchen. She's been making hash at Hormel for almost 30 years. And you can make any of these delicious dishes with just one can of America's favorite. Mary Kitchen roast beef or corned beef hash.
Oh, that Mary.
Does Pearl Vision Center have the lowest price tags in town on many glasses? Yes. But no matter how our prices compare, price alone won't tell you if you're getting value. At Pearl, you get value because we control the quality of your lenses in our in-store labs. And we guarantee each pair of glasses we sell. Yes, as good as our price tags are, our values are even better. Pearl Vision Center, the value center for eye care.
Let's start with Wendell Rawls, the reporter, a Pulitzer Prize winner. So this is no cub here. This is really a grim book, Cold Storage. Give me some examples. What happened at Fairview that you uncovered?
All right, it was not unusual at Fairview for people to be brutalized to the point of senselessness. They were beaten and kicked, often died, and then they were certified as victims of a heart attack. Subsequent exhumations of the bodies disclosed broken ribs and broken collarbones and broken bones and broken necks. And
how many patients at Fairview?
At its height, there were 1,400 plus. And when we wrote our series of articles, they were 450 some odd. Presently, there are about 260, as I understand it.
All male?
All male. Right now, it's about 50-50 black, but only when we wrote the series of 450 there, about 50-50 black-white. Not a single black guard, not a single physician, not a black physician. Only one, in fact, black staff member in the entire employment of 500 was black, and that was a person who worked in the kitchen.
You quote guards or personnel as using words like nigger, coon, jigaboo.
Oh, that was just their standard vocabulary. I mean, there was no question about it. The population there in that region was only 1.5%, 2% black anyway. So the people they're highly ethnic, and they're highly anti-black. And there were also Hispanics there who never heard a word of Spanish. They were treated by what passed for physicians, not a board-certified psychiatrist in the hospital. People were there supposedly brain damage, organic brain syndrome, they said. Had never had a psychiatric test or a psychological examination for 25 and 30 years. And a man went in for 30 days for disturbing the peace, came out 32 years later. He was a CPA from the University of Pennsylvania, and he got in a fight with his brother in a depression because his brother wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And they had this disturbance, and he comes out 32 years later.
Mr. Rawls, what percentage of that population had committed a crime for which trial was awaiting their own sanity judgment evaluation?
Many of them, and that is Pennsylvania's Hospital for the Criminally Insane,
Fairview.
theoretically. And so many of them had committed or been accused of crimes. Whether they committed them, we'll never find out. They were awaiting competency hearings.
Right.
And we found people that 25 years later, you call back to the district attorney in the district, a man has been charged with attempted arson or suspicion of sodomy or soliciting for sodomy, and you call back and say, what about this man? Can he be released or can he now stand trial? He said, oh, well, the charges were dropped 25 years ago. So these were people who were in the hospital for no reason whatever, and they had never had these psychiatric examinations, which are required by the state every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
They would bring an outside psychiatrist in. He would sit down, read the file folders that the other doctors had already made up, and he looks at them. He gives every man 5 minutes because he gets paid $25 per patient for that day, so he's trying to get as many of them through as he can.
I got some pictures here we want to show you, Don, if we can set up for that.
The other thing that you must remember
is
that these are not only this neglect situation that we're talking about where they were just left and warehoused, which is the reason for the title cold storage. They were just left and like you put a fur coat away forever. But they were also, they held human cockfights where the guards would bet with each other on the outcome of 2 patients fighting till one could not move. They would place them in these small cubicles called the Peanut at Farview. And they would stay there for sometimes 2 and 3 days. Ray mentioned being in solitary confinement 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks without any clothes on. There was a man we found that had been in Farview for 7 years and 7 months without any clothes on, bound hand and foot, naked, eating in a room that had not a mattress, not a sheet, not a towel, nothing. The windows open, just concrete.
Okay.
I represented somebody who did that for 13 years. She was at 21 years old at the time we found her, and she'd been in 13 years in exactly that kind of a room.
Let me just walk the whole, we see that? All right, let's just take a look at, did we see that first one? All right.
No,
just to give you some ambience here, let's do this in a hurry because we got so much to get in here.
Right,
These are your photos, Mr. Roll.
Well, this is a man on drugs. He's been given either Thorazine or Sparine. He is totally wiped out. He's lying on a hard wooden bench, which was the only furniture on the wards at Farview.
Now, they didn't know you were taking these photos.
Well, no, this photograph was taken by a patient surreptitiously. His name was Bill Thomas. He took this photograph surreptitiously. The next one. Now, this one was taken by a photographer at the Philadelphia Inquirer during our series. These are the guards. You can see it looks very much like a hospital, can't you?
Yeah, I'm sure.
With the bars, and you can see that the men there, almost none of them wore name tags. Rarely they wear a name tag, so that the patients never knew who was doing it to them.
You know what that is on top of that pillow there? No.
Those are pills that are readily accessible because there was such lack of security at Farview. Patients could go and raid the medicine chest and start combining medications, and then they would have contraband whiskey on top of the medications, and you wonder why a man
Now, is this
may
legit
die.
here, Mr. Rolls? Pardon my suspicion here in this age.
The pill picture and this picture was taken by Bill Thomas also.
This guy's actually shooting up,
He's actually shooting up. It was, of course, staged for this photograph that the patient took, but he, in fact, did have access to the syringe, did, in fact, have the medication and the drug to stick in his arm. This is a photograph, again, of the man lying on the bench while the Pennsylvania State Senate Special Investigating Committee investigated the hospital. You can tell there again is another photo by Bill Thomas with the patients all lying on the floors and on the benches. That's therapy at Farview prior to our series. There's a guard. You can see what kind of danger he's in. He's sound asleep on the left.
That's a guard, huh?
They were all fearing for their lives, which is the reason they kept the patient so suppressed, and there he is sound asleep on duty beside another patient. And this is recreation at Farview. You can see they take... everybody participated, as you can tell. That's one patient roller skating. They had a library that may have had 300 books.
Okay. Chris Hansen of the New York Civil Liberties Union. What's your, obviously you care, and there's a special emphasis. Tell us about New York State. Isn't there, a couple of years ago, somebody enlightened said, look, there's a lot of people in these institutions don't belong there. How am I doing so far?
Oh, people have been saying that for at least 15 years, and
All right.
there has been a drop in the number of people in hospitals. But there are still lots of people confined in hospitals who haven't committed any crime, who haven't done anything violent, and yet somebody just decided it would be better for them to be locked in a place like we just saw.
And so you are what? Trying to obviously bring the...
We're trying to prevent that from happening. I mean, I think the way to prevent that from happening is to abolish the power of psychiatrists to lock people up.
Say again, please.
I think we have to prevent psychiatrists from having the power to lock people up when those people haven't committed any crimes.
Obviously, you feel that psychiatrists indiscriminately lock people up.
I do think that's true.
But we have to rely on somebody's professional judgment on who should and should not be free in society.
No, I don't think that's right at all. I don't think the question of liberty is a professional judgment question. The question of liberty is a legal question. It's a freedom question. We traditionally decide those by courts, and I think when we lock people up when they do something wrong, I think that's the only time we should lock people up.
Mr. Rowe.
In New York, just recently, they had a man come out of Pilgrim Psychiatric Institute. They let him out of the institute. He subsequently killed his mother. He committed a murder. And what did the people at the hospital say first? The only mistake we can make here is to let people go. So they are playing that safe bureaucratic game by keeping people in, because if they let them go, they may do something.
They're to be understood. Are you going to hold a press conference when the people they release commit a murder?
Oh, no.
But they didn't belong in a mental hospital in the first place.
They didn't. Where should they have gone?
They should. The appropriate mechanism in our society, the legal, constitutional mechanism for dealing with people who threaten violence or who commit crimes is the criminal justice system. For them to become part of the mental hygiene system is inappropriate and results in abuses.
There are more people that commit murders and mayhem who have never been in an insane asylum. They don't make the headlines. Ex-mental patient does such and such.
You see, nobody can predict
Scares people.
dangerousness
That's
or can
right, it does
predict
scare us.
people's behavior.
Huh?
Nobody is able to predict dangerousness or predict people's behavior.
And not only
So the
that-
presumption that you can keep somebody and figure out when they are or not going to commit a murder is really fallacious.
Or if we can't do it, then what's your remedy?
For what?
For protecting innocent people against the meanderings of a psychotic.
Well, you can't do that. I mean, you can't ahead of time.
Right.
Then you have preventive detention. You have
Okay.
what you have in the Soviet Union.
Okay, let's get the psychiatrist in on this. Alan Stone, we're talking about you. All right? You are president of the American Psychiatric Association. What's your story?
Oh, I thought this was the crucifixion.
Well,
first of all, I think that what you've heard about Fairview, you should understand, is true of most institutions for the criminally insane. If they're not that bad, they're almost as bad. And I don't want to defend things that are indefensible. That's the first thing. The second thing is to emphasize that all those people were put there by judges, not by psychiatrists.
with the help of testimony by psychiatrists preceding their judgment.
Yes, yes, but it is the judge's responsibility. Now that's a very important point, because I agree with Chris Hansen, I agree with Ms. Gotkin, that psychiatrists should not have the responsibility of confining people. There should be a judge who takes that responsibility after hearing testimony, okay?
Yeah.
Now, but it's very important that we not get caught up here in ancient history. And what you've heard is, to a great extent, ancient history. There were over 750,000 people confined in mental hospitals under the kind of conditions that you heard about.
Yeah.
There are now 145,000 people in this country.
That's 100,000 less. Oh, did you say 3/4 going on?
3/4
Or it's 500,000 less.
That is the most fantastic transfer of people out of institutions in our society that you can imagine. All that has occurred over the last decade and a half.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel that it was right. I feel most of these institutions did more harm than good. I don't want to defend them. And
Where was the APA when all this was going on, Dr. Stone?
Well, the APA has consistently tried to follow a route, which I think is the wrong route, of trying to go to state and federal government to get more funds for mental hospitals, to try to improve them rather than closing them down. I think that was a mistake, and I think we should have tried to close them down.
Okay, excuse me, Civil Liberties Union. Dr. Stone steps forward to say, hey, this is good. We're getting enlightened, so?
Well, in point of fact, the American Psychiatric Association, in 2 cases within the last year, has filed court papers asking that psychiatrists have the power to commit people, not judges. That may be Dr. Stone's personal opinion. His organization says that psychiatrists
I
should commit.
participated in every one of those papers, and those papers did not say any such thing.
Well, you're certainly not asking for a non-role in this issue, huh?
No, what we are asking for is the following. If you really believe that there is such a thing as people who are mentally ill, and I do, and they need help,
well, but,
and they need help, and they're incompetent to make decisions for themselves, and a judge is convinced of all those things.
And they're capable, perhaps, of antisocial behavior,
And
either against others or themselves.
All right.
Okay.
Then we feel that those people who can be treated in a brief period of time, and you should realize that despite what you've heard about people being unable to get out of the mental health system, the average length of stay in mental hospital facilities now is less than 17 days. So you're hearing 27 years, you're hearing 30 years. Right now, it's less than 17 days. What we have now is the opposite kind of problem, Mr. Donahue. We have the problem now of people going in through a revolving door, getting lost in the community, no one taking the responsibility for them. And what the problems of the future are not what you heard. The problems of the future are trying to provide continuity of care for people who are getting in the revolving door, out the revolving door, and lost in the community with no one to help them.
And if the people who come out the revolving door, Mr. Hanson, commit an antisocial act, I don't have to tell you what the community's going to say about all those bleeding heart do-gooders who want everybody out and threatening my children, huh?
No, I'm not suggesting that people who commit criminal acts shouldn't be locked up. They should be. The question is, when people don't commit criminal acts, when they don't do anything wrong, is Dr. Stone and our psychiatrists so wise that they know which of us should be locked up and which of us shouldn't? And I think they are.
I don't claim to be that wise. I claim that a judge should make the decision.
Can we have your...
Everybody be that wise.
Can we have your agreement, Dr. Stone, that predicting the future behavior of a mentally disturbed individual is almost impossible?
Absolutely. No question.
All right. If it's impossible, all right, let me get Ken in. Let me get Ken Donaldson in on this.
May I ask Dr.
You may. But let me just tell him who you are, Mr. Donaldson. You're a former mental patient, and you were the center of a United States Supreme Court decision regarding the rights of mental patients. In fact, you won a judgment, did you not, against a Florida institution?
The first judgment ever against a state hospital doctor, or the first judgment ever against any doctor for denying a person his constitutional rights.
How long were you in?
Almost 15 years.
From the age of?
48 to, it would be 63, 15 years.
63, okay. You're now 71, and you've told me it's all right if I tell them that.
Right.
What happened to you there? I'm so long here on the show. I want to get your story, and then I'll give you a chance to chat, but I've got to make a break here. What happened to you in that?
All right, what led up to my being put in the hospital, in New York State in 1943, I was in for 3 months and given electric shock treatments, much against my will. I was the second one in Marcy State Hospital that had them. The doctors at that time didn't know what they were doing, and I doubt that they do today when they give electric shock treatments. Well, that followed me. I left New York State because of that, moved out west. It led directly to my divorce. And I was writing a book. I thought the harassment that was growing up around me was due to my interest in politics. I wasn't running for office. I met some people high up who knew everybody and his brother in Washington.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what the harassment was about. I found out after I was locked up a few years that it was because of my history of having had the shock treatments.
All right, but you didn't commit any,
I committed nothing. There was nothing wrong with me at the time. I was better physically and mentally than I am today, but I'm only weaker now because I was abused physically.
All right, but you were thrown in then to a Florida institution.
I was writing a book to expose what was being done to me, and I thought it was for political reasons. I tried to explain to my parents. I went down to visit them in Florida to do a few things for them, and they requested that I be examined. I was locked up 2.5 years before I knew even that. I didn't know why I was in there.
Your parents were elderly at the time.
Very elderly.
You were 48 at the time, weren't you?
48.
Okay.
I went home to visit. They didn't know me, didn't remember me.
Okay, but as an act of love, they figured they're going to take care of
They wanted to
little
help
Kenny. All right. Okay. So
they relied on the doctor's judgment.
Okay.
And the question I want to ask Dr. Stone, this is quite current, at least in 1974. He wrote an editorial in American Psychiatric Journal, or Psychiatric News, I mean.
Can I interrupt you for just a moment, Mr. Donaldson? I'll give you a chance to ask that question, but if we get into this, we're going to be woefully behind. Excuse me a moment. I promise we'll get back to you. Back in just a second.
George and Mary love their fish crispy.
They love Gorton's batter fried.
Billy and I love ours crunchy.
They love Gorton's crunchy breaded. Our fish sticks and fillets both start with tender, flaky white fish. Our crispy batter fried are dipped in a true tempura batter made with real eggs. Our crunchy breaded are covered with delicious toasted breadcrumbs.
Batter fried or crunchy breaded. Nobody's tastes like Gorton's.
Trust the Gorton's fishermen from Gorton's of Gloucester.
Snow
White and the Seven Dwarfs is coming to you direct from Radio City Music Hall. Walt Disney's animated classic comes alive on stage. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs at the Airy Crown Theater. I hope. Snow White is a spectacular musical celebration. A theatrical event you and your family will never forget.
Take a bite, dearie.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, live at the Airy Crown Theater, March 12th through April 13th. Tickets at all Ticketron locations or call 791-6000.
If there's one job I hate, it's scrubbing the toilet. And you know what? I don't do it anymore. There's this different kind of chemical system. 2,000 flushes. Keeps the water crystal clear. Keeps the bowl sparkling clean continuously for about 4 months. No rings, no streaks, no stains. Just put the container in your tank and forget it. Every time you flush, the chlorine crystals dissolve away rust and minerals before dirt rings and stains appear. 2,000 flushes keeps the bowl so sparkling clean, I don't scrub at all. And flushing sure beats brushing.
This is Karen. She killed her husband and offered no defense at her trial. Now she's a prisoner of Cell Block H. Lynette, a naive country girl convicted of kidnapping and attempted murder of a child. Lynette claims she's innocent. The jury felt otherwise. This is Bea Smith, a typical housewife, until she became a murderer and undisputed leader of prisoners in Cell Block H.
One more time now with, I know this is complicated, we're doing our best here. Kenneth Donaldson is 71 years old and spent 15 years in a Florida State mental institution, brought suit for denial of his constitutional rights. The United States Supreme Court passed on this suit in your favor, and you won, as I understand, a $20,000 judgment. And this was the case that allows a mental patient, if he, she is not dangerous and can provide for themselves, then...
Everyone has a right to his liberty.
So the state has to prove that you're dangerous. Was that it?
That's right.
Okay. You never committed a crime, did you?
Never.
Okay, you wanted to ask what of Dr. Stone?
I wanted to ask Dr. Stone. He wrote in the Psychiatric News about me. Here was a chronic paranoid patient who, on religious grounds, refused the only significant treatment available. Dr. Stone is articulate, excellently educated. He's drawing his conclusions on words that were put in my record, both hospital record and court record, by people who did not see me. Why didn't Dr. Stone or somebody else ask me how seriously ill I was? Nobody did. Everybody considered, because it said in my commitment papers, I was schizophrenic paranoid when I went in the hospital. I went through a transmission period and came out as paranoid schizophrenic, so I did go through a change.
Is there really a difference in the psychiatric textbook?
No.
First you have to believe it exists.
Okay, well, let's get Dr. Stone in there. What was the occasion of that comment?
Well, the occasion of the comment is this, and it's an important occasion. If there is nothing wrong with a patient, and they're confined for 15 years, and it goes to the Supreme Court, and they say the person should be let go, then what is all the to-do about? If they weren't ever mentally ill, then there's no one who thinks that such a person should be confined in a hospital. The only reason that Donaldson's case in the Supreme Court is important is because the Supreme Court believed he was mentally ill. And if they did not believe he was...
What is your grounds for that, Dr. Stone?
If the Supreme Court did not believe he was mentally ill, then there was no point in his
How do
being
you
in the
know
hospital.
the Supreme Court said that I was never mentally ill?
It's not in the
You're making up
decision.
something.
The holding...
I'm here, ask the horse's mouth.
Well, Mr. Donaldson, the decision does not say what you said it said. The decision says that a person in a mental hospital who is not dangerous to themselves or others and who is not getting treatment can be released if he can survive outside the hospital. That's what the decision is about.
Yeah, the decision says explicitly the question of Donaldson's mental health does not enter into this case because it's evident that there was nothing ever wrong with him. That's what the decision says.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't read that.
Well, that's the part. That is the mistake that psychiatrists make.
But-
Most
but-
of the 800,000 people locked up every year get the same deal that I did. There was absolutely nothing wrong with them. Nothing, no reason why they should be in the hospital. Somebody said they were possibly ill. They were afraid of them. They still railroad people up without seeing a doctor or judge or anything. They point their finger at them.
you see,
I said, I'm afraid of them. They put them in the hospital. Next day, the judge makes out the commitment papers. The
You've
person
never
comes-
met Dr. Stone?
No.
And I assume your comment was made in your capacity. Were you with APA at the time?
Yes.
Were you president?
No.
Okay, but you were an official of, huh?
He's been on a legal committee.
Well, at least, can we agree that it might have been inappropriate for you to make this kind of public comment about a patient that you'd never seen?
No. The American Psychiatric Association is very clear that one should not go around diagnosing people one hasn't seen.
Yeah.
There was, as part of the public record, a diagnosis. The whole trial record was public, and there was never any question in my mind from the trial record and from the other material that was on the public record that that was the diagnosis he had. But I think you're really missing the point. If you think that the decision is an important one, and they didn't assume that Mr. Donaldson was mentally ill, because its only importance comes from the fact that the Supreme Court is saying to psychiatrists, you have to discharge patients even if they are mentally ill, if you're not supplying them with treatment and if they're not dangerous to themselves or others.
Reporter Rawls.
But the problem is that the psychiatrists do not let them go even if they're not mentally ill, because for various socio-economic reasons in the communities where the hospital is the largest employer in the community, so you have to employ guards like in northeastern Pennsylvania.
You're saying there's a financial reason to keep this thing
there's
going?
a financial reason, and a bureaucratic reason, and the state is protecting itself.
Excuse me, Mr. Rawls, but do you want the responsibility of releasing someone from a hospital who may turn out to be a, I don't want to prejudice a trial underway now,
Of course,
but
none of us want the
mass murderer.
responsibility of a John Gacy getting on the streets.
All right, can we understand that? Do we have your agreement that this certainly explains why there's a lot of people warehoused?
Well, that's just one small explanation, because about 90% of these people are not guilty of these kinds of crimes.
I think that's really the important point is that if we focus on the dangerousness issue, we're really missing the major issue.
Which
because
is?
99% of people in mental hospitals are not dangerous.
I mean,
they're there for all sorts of reasons, but dangerousness is not the major one. They're there because they're peculiar. They're there because they're poor. They're there because they're minorities. They're there because their families want to get rid of them. And what they receive within those institutions cannot conceivably pass for what we would do to our worst enemies.
In Farview, for example, you have a lot of minorities who are indigent. They come from the streets of North Philadelphia and North Pittsburgh, and they are shipped 5, 6, 8 hours away to Farview State Hospital. They've had no adequate legal help. Now, for a lawyer to get to Farview, it's a 5-hour drive that way, a 5-hour drive back, and for an hour consultation, for a lawyer who makes $100 a day, he's not going to go to a man who will not pay for
There are
it.
no millionaires locked up in these state hospitals.
That's right.
No millionaires, you're saying. You don't deny all this stuff, do you, Dr. Stone?
Oh, I certainly do. I think you're getting a very misleading impression. The fact of the matter is that in the kind of hospitals that Mr. Rawls looked at, minorities are underrepresented. If you compare the population in prisons, if you go to any Pennsylvania
He
prison...
said 50-50, black and white. That's hardly proportionate.
I understand.
The population of the state is only about 20% black. It looks to me like they've got a fairly good...
But what we're talking about here is an institution for the criminally insane.
In
And
non-criminally insane institutions,
I've looked at the
minorities
institutions for the
predominate.
criminally insane, and it's quite clear that when a black does something, the judge thinks he's a black. When a white does something, they think he's sick for exactly the same thing. And in fact, blacks are underrepresented in treatment facilities. The real bias against minorities in our system is that they don't get their fair share of good psychiatric treatment.
And they're so fortunate.
And
They certainly get their fair share of brutality when they get to the hospital.
All right, and we'll be back in just a moment.
I think every day is the best day yet. I like to live it for now and make the best of myself today. That's why keeping active and fit with exercise is important to me. The kind of regular, vigorous exercise you can get with progressive resistance. It really works to shape up every inch of you.
Why wait for tomorrow? Make today the best day yet.
Join a Chicago Health and Racquetball Club during our 7 days for $7 introductory offer.
It is the French, you know, who invented the crepe. So when I heard about Stouffer's crepes, French honor demanded. I try them. No. They are magnifique. The beef burgundy crepes, the ham and Swiss cheese, the spinach with cheese sauce, delectable. For lunch or dinner, a triumph. Stouffer's, all France salutes you.
Tonight we're eating light. Spaghetti, Muller's spaghetti.
Eat light with the red, white, and blue. They're the colors that we are making Muller's. Eat light with the red, white, and blue.
Super spaghetti. Light-tasting Muller's spaghetti is an American tradition.
That's why the red, white, and blue bar.
You may think that Muller's is the best.
'Cause it's light.
We put in a long day, and that's why we save at Northwest Federal. They're around when we need them.
Nice place to make dough, right?
And when you deposit $300 or more at Northwest Federal, you choose from 29 gifts. Free or at really reduced prices, like this Toastmaster toaster.
Great for our bread.
It just shows saving at Northwest Federal's
A real piece of cake.
It's Northwest Federal savings time. We've got more time for you.
We're talking about mental hospitals, who gets in and out and under what circumstances, and what are they allowed to do with you after you get in, and who determines whether you should get out, and are we warehousing people, as alleged by reporter Rawls? And we'll chat with him in a moment. Meet Carol Marine, a reporter for WMAQ here in Chicago, the NBC affiliate. Chicago area viewers have been watching Carol's series on Illinois and the insane, criminal or otherwise, and you've been eavesdropping on us since. How do you feel about what you've heard so far? You're not surprised, I don't think.
I'm not surprised. What's interesting, as you know, in Illinois, is the John Wayne Gacy trial, and what our series was on the insanity plea. What the concern of large segments of the community is right now is that people will get out, not that they will be kept in too long. And the interest now is in potentially changing the insanity plea, so you will keep someone locked up longer in a combination of treatment and then prison later. It follows a Michigan statute.
So there is a legal move underway to eradicate entirely not guilty by reason of insanity and change it to guilty but insane?
No, it wouldn't eradicate it. What it would do is add a fourth plea. So you can be guilty, you can be not guilty, you can be guilty, not guilty by reason of insanity. We add a fourth one, which would say guilty but mentally ill. In other words, your insanity is not being argued as a reason for you to be found not guilty. So
yeah, I would imagine the ACLU would have a lot of problems with that.
I don't have any particular problems with it. I think it's unnecessarily complicated.
But how can you be guilty if you don't know what you're doing?
Well, there are people who commit crimes who don't know what they're doing that we're going to have to lock up, that
Okay,
we're going to have to protect society from. The question is, what procedure do you use to get those people in, and how do you decide when they're ready to be released? And whether you call it not guilty by reason of insanity, or guilty but mentally ill, or guilty, and whether it's a prison or a mental hospital, I don't think are the interesting questions.
Okay, we never told you we were going to have all the answers here, but watch now. Would you kindly set this up? This is just one of the items of the series that Carol did for News Center 5 here.
The main
What's
point
this?
of this is that it is almost impossible to generalize about those acquitted on the not guilty by reason of insanity plea. Two cases.
Here's one of those. Here's one of those
add-
segments. Hang on, just one second. I want to show this segment here. All right.
I've been called a kidnapper, an extortionist, a thug, and everything else.
Take Anthony Karitzis. In 1977, in Indianapolis on live television, Karitzis threatened to kill a mortgage company executive unless the man canceled Karitzis' debt to the company.
Well, I would say that my friends would say that I'm the most stable man that they know.
Taken to trial, Anthony Karitzis was found not guilty by reason of insanity.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Anthony G. Karitzis, not guilty by reason of...
He remains in Indiana in the custody of the state today. His case remains a famous one. Then again, there's Bill Coughlin. No longer in state custody, his case isn't famous, but it is perhaps more typical.
About March 9th of 1976, I shot and killed one man, and I wounded another man.
Why did you kill?
My reason for killing this man and wounding the other man was that this man was a sexual deviant. He had threatened to rape and kill my daughter.
Bill Coughlin was a social worker at the time, and he and his wife had taken in a foster daughter, a teenage girl who'd allegedly been sexually abused by her own natural father. Bill Coughlin said after that, the natural father kept coming back, continuing to sexually harass the daughter and even threatening to rape Coughlin's own natural children. In 1976, after repeated court attempts to stop the natural father's alleged attacks, Bill Coughlin shot and killed him on this street.
Even though I understood what I was doing was wrong, and I did it intentionally because of a mental illness, which I don't know the exact terminology of, they indicated I wasn't able to conform my behavior to what society said was the correct way to behave.
The judge in Coughlin's case was Earl Strayhorn, who found him not guilty by reason of insanity.
The public can't understand how a person can one moment be walking around looking as sane as any other person, and then the next moment commit a violent, heinous crime and come in and say, well, I had no knowledge that what I was doing was wrong. The public can't quite grasp that concept yet. But that's a concept that's been with us. Insanity as a defense has been a part of the English common law.
Bill Coughlin was sent to the state's Chester Mental Health Center for treatment. In 1977, after a year of therapy, he was released. 3 years he's been out, living in Chicago with his wife and his kids.
Guys who I knew in Chester who were charged with these crimes, who are now getting out, I know that they need help. They need help in the community to readjust. They don't want to commit any other crime. They didn't want to commit this crime in the first place, but circumstance led to it.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Should I be afraid of you? Should I be afraid that you, out in this restaurant with me, are still a killer?
No, and I'll qualify that, okay? At this moment, you pose no threat to my family. Well, none whatsoever. I see you as no possible threat. But given a certain set of circumstances, say you had a history for the last 30 years of raping and murdering children, okay? And I were to find that out. And you indicated to me during this interview that it was your intention to go out and rape and murder my child, okay? Yes, then in that situation, you would have reason to fear me.
Carol Marine's report for News Center 5 here in Chicago. You know, there's one of the big reasons why we've got all this fear. And with how much enthusiasm can we expect the psychiatric community to speak to these social problems? I don't mean to be insensitive, because this is America and you're allowed to make money here, okay? But if you're going to make $75 an hour, one-on-one with a patient in therapy, how realistic is it to expect you to bring your professional expertise to the business of a minority or a non-English speaking person from the urban area who may manifest emotional problems? And shouldn't we all understand why we're putting these people in warehouses and forgetting about them? It solves a problem. I'll give you a chance in just a moment.
In the constant fight against colds, allergies, and sniffles of all kinds, you have a powerful partner. Soft, strong Scotty's facial tissues. The first word in sneezes.
Home
home shoppers, dial 622-5200. Midwest Sales presents special factory new savings in time for the special season ahead. Choose from beautiful new vinyl covers for sofas, sectionals, and chairs. Shop at home and save on amazing Durafab covers. Yes, spills white clean with a damp cloth. Midwest can take worn-out furniture and give it a new look with Durafab. Free estimates, call 622-5200. 622-5200.
America, now you can turn down your hot water heaters to 120 degrees, save money, and still get clean dishes. KitchenAid introduces a new energy-saving dishwasher, the only dishwasher that heats its own hot water in every complete cycle. The new KitchenAid can save money on your total hot water bill. And at 120 degrees, no other dishwasher gets dishes as clean as KitchenAid.
Available at Community Home Supply Chicago and Vanderby Kitchens, Hammond, Indiana.
Vandecamps, the fish that catches people. Take a delicate, tender, flaky fish, puff it up with a light coat of tasty batter, and what do you get? A fish that catches people.
Oh, that looks so crispy, crunchy, and smells so good.
Yes, indeed, madam.
Behold the culinary delight, Vandecamps, delicate, flaky, gone.
Vandecamps, the fish that catches people.
The New York Civil Liberties Union Division of Mental Patients' Rights is reachable at 84 Fifth Avenue, New York City. The zip is 10011. That's 84 Fifth Avenue, New York, 10011. I guess I did kind of give you a haymaker there before. Okay, after objecting to the manner in which the question... All right. It's certainly...
First of all, let me say this. Most psychiatrists in America do not charge $75 an hour. That's the first place. The second place...
Really? Are you going to stand by that now? Is it possible you're wrong?
I know, it's no question.
50? Did you say 50?
Yes. Now, but that's not the important issue. It's important if you're paying it. I do not charge $75 an hour.
It's none of our business. May we ask you what you charge?
Yes, my maximum fee is 50.
Okay, 50, and I assume that's for 50 minutes?
Yes. But the real issue behind so many of the things that we're talking about goes to the point that Mr. Donaldson made, that you don't find any millionaires in these hospitals. In fact, most of us in America cannot afford medical treatment. We could not afford medical treatment if we did not have some sort of medical insurance. All of us are medically indigent. I, at this point, cannot afford to go into the Massachusetts General Hospital for 2 or 3 weeks or to the Michael Reese and pay it myself. I would have to go in debt. Now, the reason that the hospitals that you've heard described and the system that you've heard described is so bad is because we in the United States are unwilling to give the people who have mental and psychological problems the same kind of right to treatment that we give everyone else with every kind of other illness in our society.
But they've already got it, would be the argument of the patients. It's in the Constitution. It's already, by virtue of their American citizenship, they should have.
But it's not in their Blue Shield policy.
So it is a financial issue.
And it's
But
not...
what goes on in private hospitals, I've been in private hospitals and public hospitals, and I can say that what goes on in the most prestigious, fancy private hospitals is at least as abominable, as violent, as hurtful as what goes on in the public institutions, which should give us pause. It's prettier, the walls are nicer, maybe there are more attendants, but the treatment is violent and intrusive and hazardous and against people's will, and these are people who are paying thousands of dollars a week.
This book titled Cold Storage was written by Wendell Rawls, who's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, and you wanted to make what point? This is a story, incidentally, of Fairview State Hospital in Pennsylvania.
I just have to say
Sure.
that there has recently been a study which indicated that 70% of patients who were involuntarily confined in mental hospitals felt that it was appropriate and that the treatment had helped them. And that what you are hearing is a very biased point of view, which goes against all the statistics and which is talking about what happened in hospitals a decade ago.
What you're hearing are patients who may feel intimidated and threatened when they're asked the question, fearing reprisal from men who are euphemistically called psychiatric security age, when in fact they are not even high school educated guards with no training.
But I never
and
heard
they
of that
do not,
report, though.
No, but they do not have a lobby politically. The people who have hospital costs for surgery and illnesses, physical illnesses, do have a lobby. But a mental patient has no lobby, and his family is embarrassed and is just beginning to have one.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
Food prices up, gasoline up. Past 10 years, about the only thing I know that's come down in price is direct dial long distance. Well, you can call as far as Dallas tonight and talk for 10 minutes for only $2.31 plus tax, just by calling after 5 p.m. on weekdays. 10 minutes, Dallas, for $2.31. Well, that's probably less than the cost of that sandwich.
Reach out and touch someone.
Introducing a whole new kind of egg from Cadbury that's only around till Easter. Its shell is pure, rich Cadbury milk chocolate. But look, inside sits a sweet, creamy yellow yolk surrounded by delicious white filling. Cream eggs from Cadbury. Why, they're the best thing to come along since the Easter Bunny. And when he's gone, they're gone.
When I have a cold, I don't care how I get my vitamin C, but I won't have a cold without Puffs.
I can live without my hot water bottle, but I won't have a cold without Puffs.
There's just no substitute for Puffs when sneezing and blowing can mean a sore nose, because Puffs are softer, less irritating than any tissue. Prove it to yourself. Compare Puffs with any brand.
Puffs are softer.
So don't have a cold without Puffs.
Cynthia wants me to uncork the snappy dry wine that she brought. What I'd rather do is relax and have the wine I really like.
Or the Mogan David.
Right.
Am I ever ready for you, Mogan David? You cold, easygoing glass of full-flavored enjoyment. You're the wine I really like.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mogan David, it's not the wine you're supposed to like, it's the wine you really like.
If you would like a written transcript of today's program, send $2.50 in check or money order to Donahue Transcripts, Box 2111, Cincinnati, Ohio 45201. Include the subject or the name of the guest with your request.
This book is titled Cold Storage. It's the story of Fairview State Hospital in Pennsylvania, as written by Wendell Rawls, the Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter. We're going to tape another show. Obviously, I didn't even get to the audience here, and it's clear that you have 1,000 questions here, and we'll give you that chance in the next show. You want to watch your listings for when part 2 of this, I think, very important program airs in our time slot in your city. Who's insane? Who decides? When do they get out? Carol asked the question, what is criminal insanity? Is it being abused by lawyers? Are too many people getting out? What about a guy who puts his gun at a guy's head? Should he be free? And under what circumstances, and who makes the decision? And what's happening to these people who are inside these institutions? Part 2, watch for it in the very near future. In the meantime, have a nice day, everybody.
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following. Introducing the new Thunderbird with exciting options for the 80s, including the first keyless entry system and a dazzling electronic dash. Thunderbird.
True Value hardware stores where quality, selection, and service are why they're #1. True Value is more than just a name, it's their way of doing business.
Here talking to the women who are going into a Gloria Marshall figure salon. Hi.
I'm Alan Ludden. What's your name?
Robin Watson.
Robin, what got you started going to Gloria Marshall?
Actually, it was my husband's idea. I was a real junk food lover. I tried dieting on my own, but I just couldn't do it.
Well, I would say your husband had a great idea because you certainly do look nice now.
Thank you. They gave me a balanced program of nutritional guidance and a figure-shaping program, too. I don't like strenuous exercise, so I felt Gloria Marshall was the place for me. I was amazed by the results.
So Gloria Marshall really did help you?
Absolutely. I'm thinner now than when I first got married. It's really terrific, especially now that I could wear things I never thought possible.
How's your husband feel about all this now?
He's very proud of me.
Well, he certainly should be. Congratulations. How about you? Instead of just talking about it, don't you think it's time you did something about losing weight? Then join the thousands of women at Gloria Marshall figure salons. You have a friend who cares at Gloria Marshall's. Remember, the results begin only when you do, so call right now.
I've always been a pizza snob. Frozen pizza? Never. And then I discovered Stouffer's. It's terrific. You know why? They don't use pizza crust. Stouffer's uses good French bread because French bread really stays crisp and delicious.